Good evening. I welcome you for the 50th series of the Run at the Rate 100, that is Reskilling, Upskilling, New Skills. This is an initiative taken by the Board of Studies Operation, under which we are continuously imparting the motivational sessions and the inspiring sessions to all of you, come up with the new speakers and the moderators on every week, and giving you the insight of the particular topics on daily new topics on the Run at the Rate 100 series, that is reskilling, upskilling, and acquiring the new skills. This is an initiative taken by our Vice Chairman, C.A. Sanjeev Sanghi. I welcome you, sir. And this is an initiative by their chairman under the leadership of both of them. This series has been initiated for the benefits of the students. Over to you, sir.
Me? Thank you, Vidhi, for introducing today's 50th Run 100 sessions. And I think this is a landmark achievement. And I want to give full credit to the team of BOS operations led by Vidhi and to the chairman of Board of Studies Operation, Rohit Watia. This was started 25 weeks back when we thought of coming up with this Run 100, which is basically reskilling, upskilling, and acquiring new skills. The student of today, the current generations, may or may not be an expert on a subject, but they should be an expert on four important factors. They should have a very strong and a growth mindset, number one. They should be agile so that they can adapt to any new things which comes their way, because things are changing so rapidly with this current VUCA world, which is highly volatile, which is uncertain, which is complex, and which is very, very ambiguous. So in this situation, what is happening, if we don't have the right agility mindset, then we will not be able to cope up with the current thought process. The third thing is, you need to learn technology, and that's where this Run 100 is focusing on how you can be more efficient and effective in your work, whether it is studies, whether it is getting your work done, so that you can focus more time on important matters. And that's why, Board of Studies Operation is also come up with a very important 2 days workshop called Aura. For those students who have not been related to this, please understand that Aura is something which is going to be very relevant. Maybe we are going to work on a 2 minutes video on Aura, which will demonstrate the entire highlights of what Aura has to offer. And the last but not the least is E, which is engagement and entrepreneurship. Today's student needs to learn entrepreneurship. It doesn't mean that they need to, go and do their own practice or start their own business. Even in job, they should have a mindset to do things differently. They should own things. They should not be a person who is just doing what they've been told to do. They should take that extra leg. They should move that extra line and should be a person who is more of a problem solver, more towards solution oriented to get things done, to have that management, initiatives taken up. So I think these are abilities which has been, discussed by various topics in this Run 100, of how to have a positive mindset, how to have more, achieve more excellence. And I'm very happy to see that today's topic is on the power of integrity, which is being taken up by Yash and moderated by Nitesh ji. Thank you so much for being with us. So this integrity is, I think, the most important aspect. Whenever we want to work, negotiate, or be comfortable with any person around us, there is one very strong element which is required, is that integrity, which means if I say something or if I try and get things done, the person on the other side is having a very high sense of integrity, and that defines our success, because then we can work more comfortably, we can go forward and join hands more comfortably. It's very important to have that integrity, have that ethics, and definitely have that excellence to go forward. So I really once again wants to thank Board of Studies Operation, because it was not an easy job to get the best of the best speakers from across the country, putting them together with the help of moderation to get this entire Run 100. We have just crossed 50% of it. The half the way has been done. Another half is going to be achieved in next 4 to 6 months with the support of the entire Board of Studies. So thank you once again, Vidhi and the team, for doing an excellent job. And thank you, Yash, and Nitesh ji for coming up and actually volunteering to motivate and inspire our 11 lakh students in the country. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. So we have our eminent speakers with us, sir. CA Yash Jain ji. He's a fellow chartered accountant with over 8 years of experience, and he has expertise in India in the Ind AS, IFRS, US GAAP, IPO readiness, and the SEX reporting. And we have our moderator, that is CA Nitish Mathur ji. He will moderate the session and I'll pose the questions at the end of the session. Over to you, sir. Yes, sir. Over to you. You can start the topic. And the topic for the today is the power of integrated, as sir says, why it is a CS greatest assets.
Hello, everyone, and a very good afternoon to each and everyone. At the outset, first of all, I'd like to thank the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the Board of Studies Operations for giving me this opportunity to speak on this very important topic, the power of integrity and why it is so important for a chartered accountant. A special thanks to the Chairman, Board of Studies Operations, here Rohit Robatia ji, and CA Sanjeev Sangya ji, Vice Chairman, Board of Studies, for their vision and for their commitment towards such series like Run at the Rate 100 and making it so successful. Today, we are celebrating the 50th milestone of this particular series and such an important topic that we are going to cover today. So it's an honor to be here present and looking forward to the next 40-45 minutes that we are going to cover. So, brief about what we are going to cover is number one, we will try to understand what integrity basically means. Number one, why it is important for a chartered accountant. Second, that is what we are going to cover. How for a CA student in their life, maybe in an examination or articleship, why it is important and how it can actually impact them and what real life scenarios they might be facing, how to react in that particular situation. These are certain things that we are basically going to see and the best practices or the industry norms that we should ideally be following not just once we become a chartered accountant, but also as a student while we are basically doing our articleship or maybe giving the examination. I'll just present my screen so that the PPT is visible to each and everyone. Okay. So first of all, what we are going to do is we are going to understand what integrity is. See, integrity, if we go by the definition, it is ideally the honesty and the moral principles of a person. That is what we basically say integrity is. But if we have to define it in the right terms, we can say doing what's right even when no one is watching you. That is integrity. That is your personal morals that comes into the play. And this is something very, very important in terms of a chartered accountant. Whenever a person asks something about you, maybe your friends, your family, or your acquaintance, or your co-workers, do they basically define you as a trustworthy person or not? If yes, then you have basically achieved the level of integrity that is required for a chartered accountant. So this is something very important to understand that honesty and the moral principles, maybe you are in your practice, maybe you are into the industry, in job, or you're in your entrepreneurship. Uh, Integrity is something that is very, very important. So in a broad sense, we would say that it is something to be done on a right scale and at a right time without compromising our personal things. Second is professional standards. So ICI basically has its code of conduct and which maintains the highest ethical standards at all professional dealings. So something we need to basically follow at all times. And there are guidelines which basically tell us what to do and what not to do in certain cases. And then there is this personal character. Now, this personal character is something that is very important. We need to understand. It is an unshakable foundation of honesty, transparency, and accountability. So basically, whenever you have an unshakable foundation, if you are a person who has an image in the society that you won't do anything wrong, come whatsoever, in that particular case, even the other person who has something in his mind which might not be ethical, he will not even come with a thought to you and tell you to do anything unethical because he knows that such a kind of an character has already been built, that aura or that gravitas has already been reflected upon the other people so that they can actually think twice or thrice or never ever maybe come to you for any kind of an unethical thing. So integrity comprises of all these particular things, these three things, and I would understand that we have understood what is integrity right now. Now, why this integrity is important for a chartered accountant, that is something we need to understand. CA is a unique position because of the following reasons. Number one, we are the custodians of the financial truth and transparency. Can you basically tell me if you can imagine the capital markets being run without a chartered accountant? So when I'm talking about capital markets, we talk about the share market, the NSE, BSE tradings, the annual reports that are being published by the listed entities. Can that the financials or the reports or the numbers that are basically being published, can that be trusted without a chartered accountant's signature? We invest into a particular share, we invest into a particular mutual fund, just understanding that okay, the numbers have been actually verified by a chartered accountant and he has actually signed it. It must definitely be representing a financial truth and transparency must be there. It is a fair, true and fair view that has been presented. So CA has a very unique position wherein integrity becomes a very, very important part in a daily day-to-day life. And hence, we need to keep the highest level of integrity at all point of time, whether in practice, whether in industry or any other position. Uh, Second point is basically that it bridges the gap between the business and the stakeholders. Because if I have to explain this, business basically the KMPs, the directors of the company, maybe let's say, they are running the business. They are taking the day-to-day decisions of the business, how to run, where to basically invest, where to capitalize, how to take the loan, how much loan has to be taken. All these decisions are taken by the business. The stakeholders are basically the shareholders who are investing into that particular company. They do not have much say into that particular day-to-day life or day-to-day decisions of that particular company. So a chartered accountant actually acts as a bridge between the both of those, and hence again a very important position has been played between both of those. So and third point is basically we are the guardians of the public interest and investor confidence. As I told you, capital markets cannot run without a chartered accountant. The signature of a chartered accountant gives the confidence to the people that the numbers that have been reported by the company are accurate and you can actually invest in that particular share. The market capitalization is such, and all those things comes into the play. And the final thing is we are the key advisors in critical business decisions. So that is one very important thing. I would understand that everybody would have an idea about this particular thing. Any critical business decision, the KMPs definitely run to their chartered accountants to understand whether what kind of an impact that this could create and how this can actually enhance the company's profile in the long run. So as a chartered accountant, we definitely hold a very, very important position, uh, whether it being financial statements, whether it being for the stakeholders like the investors, lenders, regulators. We make our signature leads them to make crucial decisions, and it becomes a very important part in their day-to-day life as well. So here integrity becomes very important for a chartered accountant. Now we need to understand what are the trust factors that basically are required. See, number one is client confidence. Clients generally entrust you with the most sensitive financial information and their business decisions. This is something that is always given to you. Maybe in terms of their revenue, maybe in terms of the future contracts, wherever they are expecting any agreements that they are going to sign with the future future lenders or future any people who they basically do their business with. So client confidence has to be there. If you basically are not a person with integrity or you are a person who does not do the things honestly, then in that case, definitely it is going to be a breaker of the client confidence. And in long run, you are going to lose that particular client. So the client confidence is something that has to be made and that has to be run with only and only integrity. Second is basically market stability. As we have already talked about the capital markets, you understand that the markets are stable only and only because the financial statements issued by the companies are actually verified and audited by a chartered accountant. Professional credibility. See, reputation is something that is very important for a person. It takes years to build a reputation, but it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to just ruin it. And once reputation is lost, it becomes very difficult to basically gain it back. A financial loss is something that you can actually regain. But a reputational loss is something that is very difficult to regain. And once that is lost, it is lost forever. Whatever you may do, it might not just come back. And again, public trust, society depends upon a chartered accountant to maintain integrity of the financial reporting and business practices, whether it being any kind of in taxation systems or whether it being any kind of in regulatory compliances such as annual filings and all. A chartered accountant is required each and every place. So a chartered accountant has to maintain a professionalism along with their integrity, their honesty, and their moral principles, not doing anything wrong in just for short-term gains, so that just to please the clients or maybe in certain situations. Going forward, we'll be looking at certain cases or real life scenarios where we definitely day to day we might face some kind of an ethical dilemma. We basically think whether this is the right thing to do or not, or whether we should do it or not do it. And sometimes we even know that okay, this is not the right thing to do, but in the short run we think no, it is okay, let's do that, and we do all those kind of things, and it does not basically reflect a good picture in the long run. Now, computing the long-term reputational damages versus the short-term gains. What happens is in a real life scenario is that there is a temptation of or a trap that basically goes into. What happens is we have pressures to meet the deadline. We have to please the client. We have to show favorable results, and it can create an ethical dilemma. When I say ethical dilemma, I mean we have a dilemma, we have a thoughtfulness whether to choose the right thing or maybe choose the other way, because it might not be impacting you in the short run, but believe me, it is going to impact you in the long run. And these dilemmas can be a lot of issue that can be created, and in the long run these are a trap. These are going to definitely damage your reputation in the long run. That is what is going to happen. So there are temptation traps in the short run. Many a times what will happen is we might see that we can rationalize things. By rationalizing things, what I mean is everybody is doing it, nobody got caught, or everybody has done this. A small adjustment would ideally not make much of a difference. Why not just do it? The client will be very happy. We'll meet the deadlines, or we'll show a very favorable result. We'll adjust that amounts, or we'll adjust those things in the later amounts or later stage. So that kind of in scenarios, or that rationalization that is done by the people, definitely calls for a lot of trouble for them in the long run, and that is something we should ideally avoid. And these are the traps that we should ideally not fit into. So rationalization of the things is something that you should always avoid, and you should not always get into these kind of in scenarios. Short-term thinking is a second scenario which happens over here. Now, what happens in terms of short-term thinking? We are compromising the integrity. So compromising integrity might solve immediate problems, but create exponentially large long-term consequences for our career. So in a sense, what happens is maybe whenever we are taking a decision, many people basically take a decision just thinking at a short-term perspective. That in the short run, we'll be happy. In the short run, the client will be pleased or the results will be favorable. But when we look at the bigger picture, many a times what happens is uh, we just unforesee those long-term picture, long-term perspectives that what can happen, and that is where people get into a trap, and that is where these integrity and this honesty is lost, and we get into a trap, and a long-run reputational damage is something that we foresee. So short-term thinking is something that we should ideally avoid. We should always have a long-term vision. We should always think or plan up accordingly. We should always be thinking what needs to be done, not just 2 years down the line, maybe 3 years down the line, but 5 to 10 years or 15 years down the line. What do we need to do? And see, one very important thing that I need to tell over here is integrity is not something that you can showcase on a particular day or a particular point of time. Integrity is something that you need to showcase at each level, each point of time, and it's a continuous process. It is not something that you can do, okay, today we have done this, tomorrow we'll not be integrity, we'll not be showing integrity, we'll not be honest. It is not that. We need to be continuously independent, we need to be continuously honest, and we need to have moral principles on a continuous basis. That is something that we need to do. Otherwise, we are just waiting for the trouble to happen to us. So that is something we need to keep in mind while making any kind of decisions during our at our workplace. That is something to be taken. Long-term excellence. Now, building reputation takes years, but provides lifetime benefits, premium clients, career opportunities, and professional satisfaction. These are the things. So initially, what might have happened, like people might think that there is a gestation period, or there are periods wherein we need to maybe just input a lot of efforts. We might not be getting those outputs or the results that we desire in the short run. And there we have a mindset where we might rationalize things, and we might say that, okay, let's do a little bit of changes, and that can actually be beneficial to us. So these are the things that we need to avoid. See, again, as it is written, reputation building is not something that can be done on a single day, or maybe it's in a single week, or maybe a single year. It might takes a lot of time to build that reputation. But the benefits that basically come with that particular reputation is immense, and it's a long-term perspective. It is not something that will be there for a short term with you and then it will be gone. No, once reputation is built, and once you are a person of great moral principles, nobody can actually hurt you, or nobody can actually maybe even think of coming near to you with respect to unethical practices. So premium clients, career opportunities, and professional satisfaction are these three things are one of the most important things. There's one quote which has been given by Warren Buffett as well. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. So one bad decision, one case where you basically leave your honesty, you leave your moral principles, and it can actually hurt you in a very, very important way. So this is a very important quote coming in from Warren Buffett. So that is some other thing. We'll now move on to understand integrity for in the life of a CA student. So specifically talking about the audience that we are dealing with today, so CA students, for you, I think one of the most important thing is clearing this chartered accountancy. It's not just about clearing those examinations, but it is also about developing your personality in a particular manner, developing your personality so that the society basically respects you. That is one very important thing. With the degree, definitely a chartered accountancy degree is something that you will gain, but to be a person of moral, to be having great honesty is something that is a personal choice that cannot be taught in any class, that cannot be complied upon, or they cannot be made as a regulatory requirement under some act. It is a personal choice and it has to be made. So we'll see some such scenarios wherein we'll just discuss about what are the things that we will see. Like for example, during articleship, maintaining honesty in reporting work hours and completion status, that is one very important thing that we should ideally be doing. Many a times there are cases where we report incorrect hours and the completion status to our principals. Those are the certain things that should ideally be avoided. Whatever is honestly has been done, whatever is the completion status of a particular project, be it a audit project, be it a taxation or any other field, we need to basically report it very honestly. Second is basically seeking guidance whenever facing ethical dilemmas rather than compromising. Many times, what will happen is you'll come across a situation, and we'll look at those situations in the further slides as well to discuss, particularly each with respect to CA students. You might be facing an issue with respect to, I mean, somebody has asked you to basically overlook some kind of an audit evidence. Somebody might have asked you to maybe just not look at certain kind of an things and not report certain kind of an observations that you might have. So these are ethical dilemmas, whether we should do it, whether we should not do it. So the constant thing that needs to be done in this particular situation is seek guidance. Go to your principal, go to your senior, and then seek guidance. Information, you transfer it to your pen drive, and you just logged out of your email system, but you forgot to actually remove that particular client data from the desktop or wherever you saved it. Now that data, which which is there, is available to each and everyone who is working in that office, whether or not that particular person is working on that client, he is assisting on that client or not, he is actually able to see that particular information. It might contain financial results, it might contain anything. So you might be thinking that why is it important? How can it actually impact? The client is maybe a private limited company. How does it impact? Trust me, it is not something about being a client, a small client or a big client. It is about the habit. Whenever you have a habit of doing such kind of things, maybe today you might be working on a small client, but tomorrow you might be working on a very big client who is a listed client, whose IPO might be coming out. You have some sensitive insider information. You are working on that project. You are working on the financial statements to be filed in the prospectus of that particular IPO, and then you might not actually be in a situation where you can leave such kind of data on any of the system or any other desktop, or you can forward that particular email to any person who is a colleague, but he's not working on that particular project. So you need to understand it is a habit. It is not about a client being small or big. It is about a habit that you need to develop. That confidentiality is very important. Never share any kind of an information, any kind of a numbers that are reported with any person who is not actually working on that project and who does not actually need to know that particular kind of an information. So confidentiality is again a broader term that comes under integrity in itself. So these are the three things that we need to basically keep in mind during articleship. We'll look, as I told you, we'll be looking at some real life scenarios, deep dive into the articleship scenarios, and we'll see what are the things that we need to keep in mind. Second is basically in the examination. Now, upholding the academic integrity and avoiding any kind of malpractices is something very important. While being in examinations also, I understand it is very difficult to do these kind of things because anyways, the exams are something that are pretty tough. So, but at the end, what we need to do is we need to follow integrity. We need to be very honest, and we need to actually follow whatever we know we should write in particular examination in that particular manner. Now, remember that the examination conduct reflects your professional character. See, whenever we are talking about the conduct, uh, not just about the CA examinations, but any kind of an examination, you might be pursuing any kind of an degree. Now, I'll give you a real life scenario. Let's just imagine that you're back in school. In school, you are giving an examination. Let's say it's a mathematic examination that you are giving. You're sitting in a particular class, everybody is your classmate, and they are giving the maths examination. Uh, you're sitting in one row, there's your best friend who's sitting on the very next row. He's easily accessible. The invigilator or the teacher basically just goes out for 5 minutes. Nobody's in the class, nobody's looking at you, nobody's watching you. There are no CCTVs or anything. Even if you ask your friend about a particular MCQ, nobody's going to know ever. In that particular situation, what are you going to do? That is the thing that reflects your personal as well as your professional character. Now, that is very important thing to understand. So when I told you on the first slide itself, doing the right thing when nobody is actually watching you, that is where integrity and that is what is expected out of a chartered accountant and a chartered accountant student. So in that particular situation, if you do not ask your friend for the correct answer, that is the real thing to actually do. And that is shows your honesty and integrity. Build genuine knowledge rather than seeking shortcuts. I believe that is something has to be done because chartered accounting examinations are totally based upon your genuine knowledge. No shortcuts basically work in these kind of an examinations. So, anyways, that is being followed. But these are the three things that we need to basically follow in examination. And third thing is basically as a future professional. So once you clear your chartered accountancy, you get your degree. You might go into your practice in your industry, in job, maybe as an entrepreneur. In that particular situation, also, we need to have clear ethical boundaries from day one of the practice, from day one of your job, from day one of your entrepreneurship. It has to be clearly set out that these are the things that we are not going to indulge ourselves. That kind of in clarity, if you have, then you are going to basically be a very successful and a very respected person. You are going to be successful, that is for definite. More than that, you're going to be more than that, you're going to be a very respected person. That is something bound to happen. Second thing is invest in continuous learning and professional development. See, there is a continuing professional committee that is being there, education committee that is being there, which organizes multiple seminars, multiple one-day seminars, and multiple topics are being discussed. So these are certain things that we need to basically be doing continuously, learning new things. Like for example, the artificial intelligence. This is something very new which has come in right now. These are the things we need to basically learn, because in day-to-day life it is becoming very, very important. So these are the things that we need to do. We need to be a continuous learner, not just be thinking that now we have become a chartered accountant and we need not do any other further studies. No, we need to be a continuous learner, and that is how you basically survive in an industry. Third thing is building relationship based on trust and transparent communication. That is one very important thing. Again, I would like to ask one question. Would you be willing to do a business with a person who lacks moral principles? Would you rather want to be a partner with such a kind of a person who does not honestly treats his client? Because in the long run, he might just go against you itself. So those are the things that we need to basically consider. We have to build relationship on trust, and we need to find out people who are actually following integrity, and then only we can actually survive and we can actually do well in the long term. Short term gains are something that we need to avoid, and we need to not look into. Long term plans, as we discussed, have to be taken into consideration. Now let's discuss some of the corporate scandals from the real life that have happened. We need to understand these kind of things also, because once we lack integrity, once we are thinking or rationalizing things, then in that particular case we need to understand that it becomes very important that we need what has actually happened in the past. We need to understand all those kind of things. So we'll be discussing two of these cases. I think first of the case is the Satyam Computers case, which happened in India, and this was a 7,000 crore accounting fraud that happened approximately. It involved fictitious revenues, fake cash balances, inflated profits. This was a company which was established in Hyderabad. And this particular company, there was a fallout that has happened. Um, the company collapsed, the investor losses, there was damaged reputation of Indian IT sector because it was one of the biggest company in the Indian IT sector, and there were strict regulatory reforms which followed once there was a collapse of this particular company. So this is one very important case study that has happened in India, and this was primarily due to the frauds that were taken in case by the KMPs of this particular company. So sooner or later, if you think that if you think that nothing is going to happen, trust me, things are going to happen. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but day after tomorrow, definitely. There will be some problem or something or the other that might happen. So we need to basically have a continuous integrity that we need to maintain on a continuous basis. The second case that we are going to basically discuss is of Enron. Now, this Enron case was a case that happened in the United States of America. This was one of the biggest scandals that had happened in USA, and this is something that had shaken the US economy to the core. So ideally, what Enron was, this company was into the power sector and the energy sector in USA. Not a very long established company. Somewhere in 1978, this company was basically established, and it was a very innovative company. It was earning some continuously 5 or 6 years. They've earned one of the most innovative companies of United States award as well. But what happened was there was complex accounting schemes, they were hiding debt, they were inflating profits. And with Arthur Andersen's audit failure, this was one of the biggest scandal that happened in the United States of America. I don't know how many of you basically know Arthur Andersen or not, but Arthur Andersen was one of the big five that was there at that point of time in 2002. Immediately after the Enron scandal, Arthur Andersen fell like anything. And today in 2025, we don't even, many of us might not even know the name of this particular company as well, Arthur Andersen. This was one of the big five company. We today know the big fours. This is the big five, the fifth company. All the employees that were working in Arthur Andersen ideally moved to the other big four companies. Now, such a big firm, it just fell because of this particular scandal. So anything, any actions that we take are not something that might not impact, or we might just get away with those kind of things. Such big frauds that have happened have led to a great collapse of companies. Um, One of the major changes that happened due to the regulatory reforms that were brought in after the Enron scandal was with respect to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. I believe many of you might know the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. This is a strict act that has been brought in after this particular scandal in itself. And this strict act basically requires the directors and the company KMCs to give a report and to basically tell that the financial controls of the company or the internal reportings of the companies have been accurately done. And there are a lot of compliance that needs to be done after this particular scandal. So these are the two things that I wanted to discuss. Uh, if we know, these scandals didn't just destroy the company, they shattered the careers, they devastated investor confidence, and they led to massive regulatory overhauls that continue to shape our profession today. These are one of the iconic cases of uh, India and USA that have happened and that I wanted to basically discuss. These are the things that happen when we basically lack honesty and moral principles. Okay. Now, moving on, there are some real world scenarios that I wanted to just discuss. I want each of you to basically take a moment, think about each of these scenarios. What would you do in this particular scenarios and why? I just want your answers. Just answer it to yourself. And we'll be discussing over here in itself. Situation A, a client has requested you to defer the significant expenses to the next financial year to show a better current year profits for loan approval. So whenever we basically go for a loan approval, the banks basically ask for the financial statements, and the deferral of the expense will lead to a good presentation of the financial statements. In this particular situation, what will ideally you do? How would you handle this request while maintaining professional integrity? In an ideal scenario, we'll just decline this particular request. We'll note it down that the request that was basically placed by the client so that we know what kind of a client this person is. And we will definitely discuss it with our seniors and make sure that everybody is informed with respect to this particular thing. That is an ideal scenario that should ideally be done. Let's look at scenario number two, blind signature. A senior partner asks you to sign our audit reports without thoroughly reviewing the work papers due to time constraint. We do not have time. Many a times there will be a situation we do not have time, but we need to sign the report. We need to basically push it forward. We have a deadline. What would you ideally do in particular situation? Never ever get into such kind of a trap. Because if you have not reviewed the audit reports and you are signing as a chartered accountant, you are the person certifying or auditing that particular thing and you are saying that everything is correct. So if anything happens tomorrow, it will come back to you. Never get into such kind of traps. Scenario number three, conflicting interest. You discover that your firm's major client has undisclosed related party transaction that could affect the financial statement accuracy. How would you basically balance client relationship with professional obligations? Many a times we will be stuck between a seesaw, wherein we have to do the professional obligations. The other place we have client relationships. We need to build in both. So there is a bridge between the both, but we never ever compromise with any kind of in professional integrity. And their professional obligation has come. We need to do the right thing and we need to disclose whatever has to be disclosed. So those are some real world scenarios you might be facing. We'll look at some real world scenarios specifically to your articleship scenarios. Many of you might be into your articleships. And I am sure within out of these five things that we are going to discuss next, you might have definitely faced either one of the case where somebody might have come to you and somebody might have just asked you to do certain kind of a thing. So we'll discuss these case one by one. First is backdating any kind of a documents. Many times you might have just seen this report can be backdated or this transaction just backdate this transaction. We meet the deadline, everything is good, or we alter the financial records and we are good to go. In this particular case, we need to politely decline. We need to explain the implications specifically that this is not a good thing. This might lead to trouble. We need to document the request as well and your refusal. Very, very important step because you need to be clear in your part that you did not basically entertain this kind of a request and escalate it to the seniors. These are the four steps that you need to basically follow. Remember, follow these four steps and you will be always and always safe. Second case is accidentally confidentiality breach. As I told you, it can happen. Accidental confidentiality breach is something that can happen. As I told you, a scenario where maybe you just log in your system and you leave the file in that particular system. Now it is accessible to each and every person. In that particular situation, what we need to basically do? We need to immediately access the extent of the disclosure, how much data has been disclosed, notify your superior, do not attempt to cover it up. One of the biggest mistakes that people basically do is let's cover it up. Nothing is going to happen. Nobody is going to find out. But that's okay. If this has happened, I don't really think so. It is going to impact a lot. This is the mistake that we basically make. we need to basically tell our seniors that this is something that has happened, and whatever is the right decision that can be taken, and we need to basically learn from the mistakes. I'm sure once that kind of a mistake has been made, you'll definitely learn from it, and it will become a habit. Confidentiality will come out of your audit books, and it will definitely become a habit for you. Third case is conflict. Let's say firm expectation versus ethical standards. So a firm's practice appears to be conflicting with the professional ethics in certain cases. Maybe you find such kind of in scenarios. You need to review the relevant ethical codes. You need to seek clarification with the trusted seniors or mentors and express concern respectfully. Now, very important thing is respectfully is the way to basically express your concern. Always citing professional standards, always having a backup, and that is how you basically tell your seniors that this is how we believe should be done. There might be something that we might be missing, but do let us know for our learning, for our things. So this is how you basically maintain the expectations and everything. Now there are some pressures to overlook audit findings. This is something very common. I would say many of you might have faced. I did face this particularly in my articleship time, wherein a senior was or a client basically insists you that just ignore a material misstatement or a non-compliance. So in that particular situation, what we do, we reiterate audit standards and the importance of accurate reporting, document the finding and pressure received. Again, very important. The pressure that has been received has to be documented. Consult your audit manager or engagement partner for guidance. So that is again one very important thing that needs to be done. So consulting your manager, consulting your people is something very, very important that needs to be done. And we need to always be make sure that we inform our seniors that this is the situation that we are facing and what is the right thing to be done. We think that this is the right thing to be done, but do let us know if there is anything else that can be done. And the flip scenario is basically with respect to unrealistic deadlines, compromising quality. So now, let's say, for example, you're given an impossible deadline, forcing a choice between either submitting subpar reports or outputs, and the other thing is either you will miss your deadline. This is again something very common that we find. Now, in this particular thing, upfront we need to communicate that this is a concern. We think that we might not be able to basically finish this kind of an work in the given timeline, in the given limits, and the impact of the same if done within the timeline that the reports might be subpar or the reports might not be really good. So those are the things that we need to basically tell first of all. Second, propose an alternative solution, like maybe prioritizing critical sections or requesting for an additional resources maybe in certain cases, and document the discussion. Again, very important. Avoid sacrificing quality. Never ever compromise on the quality. This is one very important thing that we need to learn. Whatever might be the situation, whatever might be the pressure, never ever compromise on the quality part. Now, when you handle these situations thoughtfully, strengthens your ethical foundation and it builds a reputable career. These are the things that we need to basically do in our day-to-day life. And these are certain things that maybe every day we might be basically facing these kind of scenarios. So we need to be very sure that we follow these kind of things. All right. Moving on, see consequences of violations. There are legal and regulatory penalties that can be basically there. Uh, since we are chartered accountants, we have a degree, we have a membership license that we have. So we need to be very careful of our signature. As our Prime Minister has also said, our signature is very more important than his. So trust me, that is actually the scenario. And we need to be very, very cautious wherever, whatever the reports that we are basically signing, until and unless those reports have been reviewed by yourself, should ideally not be signed in any circumstances. So first is legal and regulatory practice. Second is we have already discussed the irreversible reputational damage. The third is career and financial ruin. Because once your reputation is gone, once there are legal or regulatory penalties on you, the career and financial will automatically be ruined. It is going to be very difficult once you basically get into such kind of a situation. And fourth is basically erosion of the public trust. Now, one's very important thing. When one chartered accountant or one person basically does a mistake, it basically harms the total community in itself. So that is one very important point to remember. You do a mistake, you are representing the institute, you're representing all the fellow members that are along with you. So we need to be very sure that these are the things that might happen once we violate. Now, practical tips for maintaining integrity. These are some things that we are going to cover. Most of the things we might have just covered. We'll just go on for maybe just look at the headings and we'll just understand from what needs to be done. So, establishing clear principles. As I told you, we need to have boundaries. We need to have clear thoughts that these are the things that I'm never going to do in my career, and these are the things that I'm never going to promote. So that boundary setting leads you to take a good decision. You're very clear in your mindset that these are the things that we need not do. You're left with very little options, which are the right options. That is how you basically take a decision. Now, seeking mentorship, again, building a relationship with experienced professionals. Once you become a chartered accountant, it's not just about you being a CA, but there are senior chartered accountants who are available. There are senior people in the community that are there. You can always seek guidance from them because they might have gone through the similar situation. And in that particular situation, how they acted is something that you can basically learn from. So seek mentorship is something very, very important. And hence networking and basically having relationship is very, very important with the senior professionals. Document everything. Now, as we study under the auditing standard 230, document everything. We need to have a clear-cut documentation. We are experts in that. And we need to be doing documentation for each and every discussion. Maybe on email communication. If a client basically requests you, never let him request you anything on orally, but let him draft it on an email and clearly draft your response on that particular email so that everything is documented. And finally, is communicate openly, address concerns directly and professionally. We should be very communicable and we should have clear communication. No misunderstanding should be there. And misunderstandings, if are not there, we always build trust in that particular situation. Again, these are some industry best practices. We need to adhere to the ethical code of conduct of the ICAI. We need to maintain independence and objectivity. We need to be embracing continuous learning, and we need to have ensure transparent communication at all points of time. Independence is again one very important thing that needs to come out of the audit books, because many a times client might maybe ask you that they might take you out on a dinner, or maybe they might be gifting you certain things while you are working on their particular audit. So these are the things that we need to avoid. We need not get into these kind of situations. So those are the things. Integrity, self-assessment. Now we need to do a self-assessment of ourselves as well. We need to do a conflict management. Do I always identify and disclose potential conflicts of interest? Let's say, for example, if you are working on an audit project and the client or the client senior KMP is a person who is related to you, maybe on a distant relationship. He's some kind of a relative of yours, but a distant relationship, but still you know that particular person. You need to basically tell this upfront to your particular audit team that there could be a conflict of interest, and I would ideally request you to maybe post or to basically take on another project or another case scenario. That is something that we need to keep in mind. So conflict management is very important to understand, and it is a part of the independence in itself. Information security, again, it comes with respect to the confidentiality, unauthorized access, accidental disclosures in any context. We need to be very, very aware of these kind of scenarios. Ethical navigation, when confronted with an ethical area, do I seek counsel, consult, professional guidelines? ICI is always there. Senior professionals are always there to help you out in such kind of dilemmas. So always consult. Your honest answers are the first step towards strengthening your ethical compass. That is very, very important. Honest answers have to be given. Now, finding your integrity role model. Now, this is one very important thing because, see, for my personal case, if I tell you, I have a role model in late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam ji. I recently visited his memorial as well in Rameshwaram and his house, the Kalam house in Rameshwaram. And I studied about his life history. He's literally a role model for a lot of Indians, I would say. And he's definitely one for me as well. So what he would do in a particular situation is something that we need to basically understand. What are the gray areas where what can be done? His life or his the study of a life of these role models. It can be anyone for you guys. So any role models are someone that you need to always have so that you have someone to look up to understand their lifestyle, their way of speaking, their way of basically behaving in a particular situation and their decision making. So that is something very important. If not today, maybe if you don't have a role model today, you should identify definitely one so that you can follow them for the life. Okay, looking ahead, your ethical compass, there is a embracing a lifelong learning, intentional choices have to be done, and contributing to the profession as you basically grow into this particular position. Once you become a chartered accountant, even as a chartered accountant student, there are a lot of activities being done by the student associations in the various five regions that we have. So try to basically be participative, try to basically take part in those kind of in seminars, one day seminars being organized for the CA students, be a member of maybe an MOC, a master of ceremony, or maybe a speaker for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever the time that you can get, whatever opportunity that you get, you should always take that. So don't wait for you to become a chartered accountant, but ideally I would say that you should start from your student time in itself. Okay, so these are some integrity checklist. I think most of them is something that we have already complied with or sorry covered with. So regulatory compliance is one, objectivity and independence, truthful reporting, confidentiality protection. All these things we have already covered, and I believe we understand now in a proper manner. Okay, so the final thing that we are going to understand is a summary of all the things that we have understood. See, key takeaways are there. Your integrity commitment. Integrity is your foundation. It is not just about following rules. It is about embodying the values that make you trustworthy and valuable as a professional. So these are one very important thing. See, integrity is something not that is a compliance. It is not a compliance. It is not under an act. It is just your character. So your character basically reflects what kind of a person you are. And that will reflect in your personal as well as in your professional life as well. But you need to make a very sound decision what kind of a person you are. And that is all about that we discussed in the last 45-50 minutes. Second is long-term investment. Always take a decision thinking on a long-term basis. Short-term gains are never ever going to help you. And third is professional responsibility. We have a responsibility. We are chartered accountants. We are the guardians of public trust and financial transparency. So we need to act in a particular manner. Once we become a chartered accountant, once we have that degree, once we put the CA in front of our name, we need to definitely act in a particular manner. And because a lot of people are dependent upon us, a lot of people basically invest just thinking that a chartered accountant has signed this financial report. So these are the three things I wanted to take. I would want to end in a particular manner where I just wanted to quote certain important things given by some great people and people who I follow. First is basically by Mr. Ratan Tata ji. None can destroy iron, but its own rust can. Likewise, none can destroy a person, but his own mindset can. So this is one very important thing. Iron is destroyed by its rust. Similarly, a person's character can destroy in itself. Second, it is by Mr. George Washington, the first president of the USA. It is better to be alone than in bad company. So in case if you find any kind of in people, maybe clients that you think are not good for you in the long run, it is better to be alone. It is better to leave them alone because being with them, it will impact you as well, and it might not be good for you as well in the long run. And finally, the third one is Mr. Ernest Hemingway. He's an American novelist and a short story writer, a very famous one. The best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them. You trust them, but you basically take a proper cautious decision. Your integrity is your signature, make it count. Because you will be respected basically on the basis of your integrity, your happiness, your honesty, and your moral principles. Uh, that is something that I wanted to say. So I think I'm done with my sessions. We can take any kind of questions if we have at the end. I'll be happy to answer those. Over to you, CA Nitish Mathurji.
Thank you very much, CAS Jain, for a thorough speech on integrity. We have some questions for you. The first one is why integrity is considered the cornerstone of a CA profession.
Yeah, as I told you, the integrity is one very important thing. We are the guardians of the trust or that the public basically has. We will basically be maintaining the financial statement. We sign these financial statements. People invest their money on the basis of what we basically sign. So it has to be one of the most important thing that we basically take into consideration and not just into practice, not just into your job or maybe in your entrepreneurship, every aspect of your life, in your personal life as well. Integrity becomes one very important. And once you become a chartered accountant, it becomes even more important for you because there are people looking up to you. There are people who are trusting your decisions, your signature. That is why it becomes very important.
Sir,
Sir, excuse me. Sir, it is time to concluding remarks. Good, sir. Please.
thank you so much, CAS Jain, for this insightfulness and power-packed session on the power of integrity. Why it's a CA greatest asset. You have truly shown us that beyond just crunching numbers, it's how we communicate them that drives real decision. To all our participants, thank you for your presence and enthusiastic engagement today. We hope this session will assist in a positive manner on said topic. Let us continue the spirit of learning as a part of the Run at the Rate 100 webinar series and the takeaway opportunity to grow as future ready CA professional. Until next time, take care and keep learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you to respected faculty and the moderator, sir, for wonderful session. We also thank to all dear students for their active participation in the session. We also thank to our chairman and vice chairman, sir, for taking this initiative. And students are requested to please join the Run series every Tuesday and Friday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. to learn and grow, sir. Please. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.